Have you ever sat alone in the dark, replaying everything that went wrong, wondering when life stopped feeling like yours? We all run from pain, yet it's the one thing that never stops chasing us. What if it's not here to punish you, but to prepare you? Tonight, stay with me. Let's see what your suffering has been trying to tell you all along. As we step into the first chapter, picture this: one ordinary morning that turned into the day that broke your life open, the kind of day that knocks the air out of your lungs and leaves you staring at the pieces of a world you no longer recognize. Maybe it was a betrayal you didn't see coming. Maybe it was the silence after someone you loved stopped loving you back. Or maybe it was just that quiet moment when you realized the life you built no longer fits the person you're becoming. It always begins quietly, like a crack you don't notice until the wall gives way. For me, it was a Tuesday. How ordinary, how cruelly mundane. The sun rose like it always did. The coffee brewed. The world went on pretending nothing had changed. But by evening, everything I thought was solid had dissolved into sand. That day didn't just hurt. It dismantled the version of me that was built on comfort, illusion, and control. And yet, that day, my worst day, became the day that saved me. The Stoics understood something we've forgotten in the noise of our modern lives. Our worst moments are not punishments, they're mirrors. They show us what's real, what's fragile, what's ready to be shed. Epictetus wrote, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." But remember, he didn't say that from a throne or a temple. He said it as a man who had been enslaved, beaten, stripped of everything the world calls success. And in that pain, he found clarity. Because when everything external is taken from you, what's left is the truth of who you are. No titles, no masks, no illusions, just the raw, unfiltered self that remains when there's nowhere left to run. That's what your worst day does. It removes everything false. I remember sitting in my car that night, rain hitting the windshield, the world outside blurry. I cried, not the quiet, poetic kind of tears, but the kind that wring you out completely. The kind that make you feel like something inside you has died, but maybe something had to. In that moment of collapse, a thought rose from somewhere deep within me. Not why is this happening to me, but what is this here to teach me? That question shifted everything. It didn't erase the pain, it refined it. It turned suffering into something that could be used. It turned fear into courage I didn't know I had. Your worst day will do the same if you let it. It's a brutal teacher, yes, but a fair one. It will show you that you are not as fragile as you believed, that you can be broken and still breathe. That pain does not mean you've lost control. It means life is chiseling away what's unnecessary. Think about the people you admire, the ones who move you not because of their perfection, but because of their endurance. Every single one of them has known a moment where everything fell apart. What makes them extraordinary isn't the fall, it's the choice to rise anyway. When your world collapses, you have two choices. You can curse the rubble, or you can use it to build something new. The Stoics chose the latter. Marcus Aurelius lost his children, faced war and betrayal, and still wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." So maybe your worst day isn't the end. Maybe it's the forge, the place where everything false burns away, leaving only what's real enough to endure the fire. It doesn't arrive neatly packaged. It comes wrapped in confusion, tied with ribbons of pain, and delivered at the worst possible moment. But inside that terrible gift is everything you need: the compassion to understand others, the strength to face storms, and the wisdom that only fire can give. Because the truth is this: your worst day doesn't destroy you, It reveals you. It strips away the borrowed parts of your life and introduces you to yourself. And when the dust finally settles, you'll see that nothing essential was lost. The job, the relationship, the dream, they were chapters, but you are the book. This is where the Stoic path begins, not in comfort, not in perfection, but in the ashes. You don't emerge untouched. You emerge real. So if life has torn something from you, take a deep breath. Let the pain teach you what it came to teach. Don't ask for it to pass. Ask to see what it's trying to show you. Your worst day is not your ending. It's your unveiling. And when the world thinks you've fallen apart, you'll know the truth. You've simply begun. Moving into the second chapter, imagine being told your whole life that you feel too much, that you're too sensitive, too emotional, too intense for this world that seems to reward those who feel nothing. Maybe they said it softly as advice. Maybe they said it sharply as a criticism. But the message was always the same. There's something wrong with feeling so deeply. And so you tried to hide it. You learned to silence the tremor in your voice, to swallow the tears, to laugh when something inside you wanted to break. You mistook your sensitivity for weakness, when in truth it was your greatest source of strength. The Stoics were never the emotionless statues people make them out to be. They felt deeply. They just refused to drown. Seneca wrote letters that still make readers cry 2,000 years later. His words weren't sterile philosophy. They were written through grief, through loss, through the kind of pain that strips a person to their essence. When he said, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end," he wasn't comforting others. He was comforting himself. He was reminding his own heart that endings are not failures, they're transformations. There's a difference between feeling deeply and being consumed by feeling. The Stoic learns to hold emotion like fire, close enough for warmth, never close enough to burn. Your sensitivity is that same fire. It allows you to live in high definition while others move through life in grayscale. You see meaning in things most overlook, the tired eyes behind a forced smile, the subtle tremor in a voice pretending to be strong, the quiet beauty of a sunset that others rush past without seeing. This isn't weakness. This is perception sharpened by compassion. When you feel someone's pain without words, that's wisdom beyond intellect. When something beautiful moves you to silence, that's your soul remembering what matters. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Your emotions are those colors. They are not random or chaotic. They are messages from within, guiding you toward what's true. When your heart tightens around someone's dishonesty, it's not paranoia, it's intuition catching what logic can't. When you feel joy about an idea others dismiss, it's your deeper self recognizing potential before the world does. The Stoics taught that truth often whispers before it shouts. Your sensitivity is the ear that hears it first. In a world obsessed with control and convenience, the ability to feel deeply is rebellion. Most people distract themselves to avoid feeling anything real. You, however, are cursed and blessed with awareness. You can't numb it without losing yourself. The price of that awareness is heaviness, but that heaviness is sacred. It means you're still alive in a world half asleep. Don't apologize for that. Don't shrink for the comfort of those who've built walls around their hearts. There's nothing wrong with caring until it hurts. There's everything wrong with pretending you don't. Seneca also reminded us, wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness. That is your realm. You feel not because you're weak, but because you recognize humanity everywhere. Yes, your emotions can overwhelm you, but they can also move mountains. They allow you to connect in ways surface-level souls never will. To create, to heal, to inspire. Your tears are not signs of defeat. They are signs of presence. Your empathy is not a wound. It is armor made of compassion. Real strength isn't about suppressing feeling. It's about enduring it, understanding it, and choosing love anyway. The Stoic does not reject emotion. He refines it. He turns it into clarity, into action, into wisdom. So when someone says you're too sensitive, smile. They don't understand the gift you carry. Sensitivity is not fragility. It's awareness multiplied by courage. It's the ability to stand in the storm of feeling and still walk forward. One day, the world will need that heart of yours, the one that refuses to go numb. Because when others turn away, it's the sensitive who stay. The ones who still feel are the ones who still care. And the ones who still care are the only ones who ever change anything. Your sensitivity is your secret weapon. It's what makes you human in a world desperate to forget how to feel. Protect it, honor it, let it guide you. Because strength without compassion is empty, and wisdom without feeling is blind. So when the world calls you too much, remember this: you're not too much. You're exactly enough. You're what this world forgot it needed most: a heart that still feels, and a soul brave enough to keep feeling. Entering the third chapter, picture the moment when the life you built begins to dissolve before your eyes. Maybe it happens suddenly, a call that ends a relationship, a letter that ends a career, a silence that ends a dream. Or maybe it's slower, like erosion. One small loss at a time until you wake up one morning and realize you no longer recognize the person staring back at you in the mirror. You're left standing in the ruins of what used to be your certainty, wondering what's left to hold on to. That moment, right there, that's not you falling apart. That's you falling into place. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Loss is nothing else but change, and change is nature's delight." Simple words, hard to live by. He wrote them as a man who buried his children, who watched empires fracture and loyalty vanish. And yet, through it all, he understood that loss is not the end of the story. It's the turning of a page. When everything external is stripped away, what remains is the part of you that cannot be taken. There's a strange beauty in that kind of destruction. It's brutal, yes, but honest. Loss removes illusions faster than time ever could. When the roles, the titles, the plans are gone, what's left is something raw and real, your essence unmasked. That's the paradox the Stoics knew well. To find yourself, you must first be willing to lose everything that isn't you. I remember sitting in an empty apartment once, surrounded by boxes that held the remains of a life I thought I wanted. The air was still, heavy. The silence was almost violent. Everything I had worked for, loved for, fought for, was gone. And for a while, I mistook that emptiness for death. But then something shifted. I realized that emptiness is not death, it's space. Space for something new to emerge. The Stoics taught that nature is constant renewal. A tree in winter looks dead, bare, motionless, stripped of color. But under the frozen soil, life is gathering strength, preparing to rise again. The roots deepen when the world above grows cold. That's what loss does to you. It drives your roots deeper into unseen ground. It prepares you for spring, even when everything looks lifeless. You see, rock bottom isn't the place where you end. It's the place where you rebuild. When you've lost everything, you finally have room for what truly matters. The job, the title, the relationship. Those were chapters, not your entire book. You are not what you've lost. You are what survives the loss. Every ending clears the ground for something you can't yet see. Every closed door is protection disguised as rejection. Every person who walks away is making space for someone meant to walk beside you, not ahead or behind. Life isn't punishing you when it takes something away. It's recalibrating you. It's pruning what no longer serves your growth. Seneca wrote, "It is not that life is short, but that we waste much of it. We waste it clinging to what's already fading. We fight change instead of trusting that it might know better than we do." But when you stop resisting loss, something miraculous happens. You begin to see it not as chaos, but as correction. The world is not ending. It's rearranging itself around the truth of who you are becoming. So if you're in a season where everything seems to be slipping away, take heart. You are not being undone. You are being refined. What's falling away is not your life. It's your false sense of control. What's dying is the version of you that no longer fits the life you're meant to live. Losing everything teaches you the art of beginning again without fear. It teaches you that your worth doesn't come from what you own, who you love, or how much you've achieved. It comes from the quiet certainty that you can rebuild, that you can endure, that you can rise. And you will. Because the art of losing everything is really the art of returning to yourself. The self that bends but doesn't break. The self that trusts the process of becoming. The self that finally understands when everything external disappears, what's left is everything essential. So don't run from the ashes. They're not proof of your failure. They're evidence of your transformation. What you've lost has not diminished you. It has revealed you. And what's waiting on the other side of this loss is not a lesser version of your life, but a truer one. Advancing to the 4th chapter, imagine sitting alone in the quiet aftermath of something that once meant everything to you. The dream that once fueled your mornings, that pulled you through the long nights, now lies shattered at your feet. Maybe it was a business that never took off, a love that couldn't last, a path that promised purpose but ended in silence. You stare at the pieces, wondering if you failed or if life simply turned against you. That ache in your chest, that emptiness where your certainty used to be, feels like the end of something sacred. But what if it isn't the end at all? What if it's the redirection you were meant to take? The Stoics knew this feeling well. They lived entire lives built on the acceptance of what they could not control. Epictetus once taught, "Do not demand that things happen as you wish, but wish them to happen as they do happen, and you will go on well." He wasn't teaching surrender. He was teaching strength, the kind that comes from seeing that life, in its wisdom, often denies us what we want, so it can give us what we need. We all chase something at some point with blind devotion, a dream that feels destined. You give it everything: time, energy, health, heart. You sacrifice sleep and laughter and simplicity. And then, one day, it collapses. You're left in the ruins, wondering how to start again. You feel like the world moved forward while you stayed behind, empty-handed. I've known that feeling too. The disorienting silence when something you built disappears and you realize you don't know who you are without it. But here's what I learned. A broken dream doesn't mean failure. It means transformation. It's the quiet hand of fate moving you away from something that no longer fits who you're becoming. Because sometimes the life you lose is the very one that was keeping you small. Think of it like a river meeting a boulder. It doesn't rage against it forever. It flows around it, reshaping itself, carving a new path through the land. The obstacle becomes part of the story of its beauty. The river doesn't stop being a river. It becomes deeper, wiser, more defined by the journey it's forced to take. That's what your broken dreams are doing for you right now. They're forcing you to reroute towards something truer, stronger, more aligned with who you're meant to be. The Stoics saw obstacles not as punishment, but as redirection. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What stands in the way becomes the way." Every shattered dream, every disappointment is the universe whispering, "Not this, not yet, not here." You're not being abandoned, you're being guided. And the longer you resist, the longer you postpone the discovery waiting on the other side. When I look back, the dreams I thought I'd lost were never truly mine. They belonged to an older version of me, one that needed to break so a wiser one could rise. What I learned, who I met, the skills I built, the strength I gained, all of it became the foundation for something I could never have planned. The ruin wasn't wasted time, it was training. So, if you're mourning a dream tonight, let yourself grieve it. Don't rush to pretend you're fine. Feel the loss, because that pain is proof that you cared, that you lived with intention. But don't let the grief trick you into thinking it's the end of meaning. It's the soil where something new will take root. Broken dreams decompose into wisdom. They feed the earth that your next purpose will grow from. Maybe the relationship that ended was protecting you from settling for less than the love you deserve. Maybe the job that rejected you was freeing you to build something of your own. Maybe the dream that felt so important was actually too small for the person you're becoming. The Stoics would tell you, amor fati, love your fate. Not because it's easy, but because it's real. So trust the unraveling. Trust that what's falling apart is not your punishment, but your path. The end you're grieving today might be the most important beginning you'll ever know. Your broken dreams are not graves. They are gardens in disguise. And when the time comes, you'll look back and realize none of it was wasted. Every failure was a seed, every ending an opening, every heartbreak a quiet invitation to rise stronger, clearer, freer. Because what you lost was never the limit of your life, it was just the edge of who you were. And now you're crossing it. At this stage, let's talk about something most people run from: struggle. The kind that keeps you awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering when life stopped being simple. The kind that makes you question whether you're cursed or chosen, because struggle has a way of making us believe something is broken. But here's the truth that will change the way you see every battle you face. Your struggle isn't a mistake. It's your teacher in disguise. It's not a flaw in the design. It's the design itself. We live in a world that treats pain like an infection, something to numb, to medicate, to escape. We're told to stay positive, to find shortcuts to happiness, to pretend strength means never breaking. But the Stoics saw it differently. They believed that struggle isn't something to fix, it's something to embrace. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate associates you." He wasn't asking for passive endurance. He was pointing to the sacred art of amor fati, to love your fate, not just endure it, to see every difficulty as an invitation to grow deeper, wiser, more complete. I once sat across from a friend who had just come through a brutal divorce after 20 years of marriage. She apologized for crying. She apologized for feeling. She apologized for being human. "I should be stronger by now," she said, as if grief had a deadline. I realized in that moment how deeply we've been conditioned to feel ashamed of our struggles, to hide the very moments that make us real. We talk about growth as if it should look graceful. But growth is rarely graceful. It's raw, it's loud, it's sacred. Your struggle is sacred because it's transforming you into someone who couldn't exist without it. The anxiety that shakes your hands is teaching you empathy for others who tremble too. The heartbreak that cracks you open is expanding your capacity to love. The loneliness that feels unbearable is teaching you to find peace in your own company. Every weight you carry is shaping your character in ways that comfort never could. Seneca wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." The very thing you call suffering may be the thing that's saving you. You see, no philosopher, artist, or leader who ever changed the world did so without first walking through fire. Their greatness wasn't born of ease, it was carved by endurance. They didn't escape their struggles, they alchemized them. You can too, because your struggle isn't random, it's personal, it's perfectly tailored to your becoming. The obstacles in your path are not there to destroy you, they're there to reveal you. They refine your patience, they burn away your illusions, they demand honesty from you about who you are, what you value, and what you're willing to endure. That's why the Stoics saw hardship as sacred ground. Because it's where the soul is tempered into steel, but the choice is always yours. You can let struggle make you bitter or make you wise. You can use it as a reason to close your heart, or as the reason to open it wider. You can see it as unfair, or you can see it as universal. No one escapes it. Not emperors, not slaves, not you. The only difference lies in how we respond. Epictetus, born into slavery and yet free in spirit, taught that we can't control events, only our attitude toward them. That's where your power lives, not in avoidance, but in acceptance. Every time you choose to see meaning in pain, you transform it. Every time you refuse to be defined by struggle, you redefine what strength looks like. And here's something else. The struggle is temporary, but its wisdom is not. It will not last forever, though it may feel endless. It moves, it shapes, it transforms. The person you were when this began will not be the person who emerges. That is the miracle hidden inside the suffering. It changes you, and that change is sacred. Right now, even if you can't see it, you are becoming someone extraordinary, someone who has stood in the fire and chosen to see it as purification, not punishment. Someone who has faced the storm and learned to sail by its winds instead of fearing them. Someone who has fallen apart and discovered that the cracks were not wounds, they were doorways. Marcus Aurelius once reminded himself, the blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything thrown into it. Be that fire. Let the struggle feed your strength, not your despair. Because in the end, your struggle isn't just something to survive, it's something to honor. It was chosen for you as the path to your highest self, not easily, not painlessly, but purposefully. And when you look back, you'll see it clearly. You were never being broken, you were being built. From here, let's talk about one of the hardest and most misunderstood acts of courage, starting over. There comes a moment in every life when the map you've been following no longer leads anywhere. The career you once fought for loses its meaning. The relationship that once felt like home begins to suffocate. The identity you wore proudly starts to feel like a costume that no longer fits. And when that moment comes, you stand at the edge of something terrifying and true. You realize that to move forward you must begin again, not because you failed, not because you quit, but because you've outgrown the life built by an earlier version of you. Starting over at 25 feels like adventure. At 35, it feels like risk. At 45, it feels like madness. But at any age, it demands a rare kind of strength, the courage to trust your own evolution when no one else understands it. Seneca knew this courage well. He lost his fortune, his title, even his life, yet wrote with calm defiance, "Life is long if you know how to use it." He didn't mean stretching time, he meant expanding it, living fully, even when it means beginning again. The Stoics saw each new beginning not as an erasure of the past, but as its fulfillment. Every ending, they said, prepares the soul for renewal. Imagine a woman in her 50s. For decades, she was a respected lawyer, stable, successful, admired, yet something inside her had gone silent. One morning, she wakes up and realizes that success without meaning is just a quieter form of suffering. So she leaves it all behind, the prestige, the paycheck, the predictability, to become a teacher. People whisper. They call it reckless. They say she's lost her mind. But she hasn't lost it. She's found it. Working with children reawakens something ancient in her, a forgotten joy. In their eyes, she rediscovers her own purpose. And for the first time in years, she breathes freely. That's what starting over really is. It's not abandoning your past. It's carrying its lessons into a new terrain. Every mistake, every heartbreak, every hard-earned skill, they all become your building materials. The life that collapsed behind you wasn't wasted. It was preparation for this one. The Stoics would tell you, the courage to start over is the courage to trust yourself more than you trust comfort, to value growth over approval, to choose what feels right over what looks safe. It's standing at the crossroads and saying, I don't know where this path leads, but I know I can't stay here. Maybe that's where you are right now. Maybe the job that pays your bills is draining your soul. Maybe the relationship you're in has already ended in silence, even if no one said the words out loud. Maybe you're living a version of yourself that fits everyone's expectations, but not your own. The moment you admit that truth is the moment your real life begins. Starting over isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's the difference between surviving your life and living it, between accepting what is and creating what could be. Yes, it's terrifying. Yes, you'll doubt yourself. Yes, others will question your sanity. But what's scarier is reaching the end of your life and realizing you never had the courage to begin the one you actually wanted. So when the time comes, and it will, take the leap. Begin again, even if you must start with empty hands and an open heart. Because everything you've lived so far wasn't the full story. It was the introduction. The chapters ahead belong to the version of you who refuses to settle, who chooses to begin, who understands that every fresh start isn't the loss of what was, but the discovery of what's next. Starting over isn't returning to where you were. It's walking toward who you were meant to be, unafraid, unbroken, and alive. Entering the final chapter, imagine standing in the middle of your own life with your hands clenched around everything you're terrified to lose. Plans, people, dreams, control. You tell yourself that if you just try hard enough, hold tight enough, plan far enough ahead, nothing will fall apart. But things do. They always do. And when they do, you suffer twice. Once from what happens, and once from refusing to let it happen. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. Epictetus said, "Some things are up to us, and some are not." The space between those two truths, that's where peace begins. You cannot control the weather. You cannot control other people's choices. You cannot control the passing of time. But you can control how you meet each moment. You can decide what thoughts you keep, what words you speak, what meaning you give. That's where your true power lives. Letting go is not surrender. It's clarity. It's the wisdom of realizing that control was never yours to begin with. You can't command the tide to stop, but you can learn to sail with it. You can't stop the wind, but you can adjust your sails. The Stoics called this alignment with nature, the art of moving with life rather than against it. Think about it. How many nights have you replayed conversations you can't rewrite? How much time have you wasted trying to fix what isn't yours to fix? How many times have you carried guilt for things that were never within your power to change? The mind clings because it fears chaos, but what it calls chaos is often just life being honest. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Accept whatever comes to you woven in the pattern of your destiny, for what could more aptly fit your needs?" That isn't resignation, it's liberation. Because the moment you stop fighting reality, you stop being its victim. The moment you stop demanding that the world obey your will, you begin to see that it already moves with a wisdom beyond your understanding. I once knew someone who lost everything they thought made their life stable, a business, a relationship, a sense of direction. For months they fought it, trying to rebuild what no longer wanted to exist. But the day they stopped fighting, something shifted. They found peace, not in control, but in acceptance. They realized they didn't need life to follow their plan. They needed to trust that even in collapse, there was guidance. So when life refuses to follow your script, when people disappoint you, when the path turns into fog, pause, take a breath. Whisper to yourself, this too belongs, because it does. Every delay, every detour, every ending, it all belongs to the pattern that is shaping you. Your peace doesn't begin when everything goes your way. It begins when you stop needing it to. The more you let go, the lighter you become. And the lighter you become, the freer you are to walk the path that was meant for you all along. Let go. Trust the pattern. Release the illusion. Because when you stop trying to control everything, you finally learn to master yourself, and that's where true freedom begins. If you've stayed until this moment, it means something in you recognizes truth when it appears, not because your path is harder than others, but because you're ready to stop running from pain and start understanding it. You're ready to stop hiding your depth and start using it as strength. The Stoics taught that we are not victims of life, but students of it. Every challenge is a lesson written for our growth. Every loss makes room for something wiser. Every ending quietly becomes a beginning. The tears you felt are not weakness. They are remembrance, your soul remembering its strength, your heart recalling its courage, your spirit awakening to its light. You were born with everything needed to endure, to rebuild, to rise again. Not without struggle or scars, but with grace and persistence. Your pain is not proof that you're broken. It's proof that you're alive, that you care, that you are still becoming. As Epictetus said, each of us plays a role in the great play of life. Yours may hold hardship and loss, but it is still yours to perform with courage. The world needs your story, your resilience, your proof that a heart can break and still choose love. If these words stayed with you, subscribe and keep walking this path. Comment below with 3 words that affirm your strength. I am rising. The next lesson awaits.